Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of just exploring whatever stuff is thrown my way. We're going to be checking out something from Comus today. I'm already a little apprehensive. Comus continues to throw me off guard as I forget what they're all about and then get sideswiped by, the lyrics. So I'm ready today. I'm familiar enough with Comus and I remember the type of music that they make, the kind of experiences that they make. We are going to be listening to a 17-minute track from them though. This one called the Malgaard Suite. It is taken from a 1972 performance. Let's just dive into it. See what Comus is bringing to the table today.
In 1972, Comus began the process of writing new material for the follow-up album to First Utterance. The material was planned as a suite consisting of two sections. It was called the Malgaard Suite. The basic story was of a beautiful young maiden beguiled and held captive by a powerful warlock ogre called Malgaard. The first section evolved into a 15-minute continuous piece. We played it at a number of gigs, but when it was offered to Dawn Records as the basis of the new album, they suggested cutting it down to 3 minutes and wanted a single. The second section was only completed just before the band split up in September of '72 and was never recorded or performed. What you're about to hear is the only known recording of Comus playing the first section. It was recorded on a Sony cassette recorder at a university in 1972 by Andy Wall. He rediscovered it a couple of years ago and passed it on to us. Time and neglect have not been kind to the original cassette, and the audio quality is not good despite a careful renovation by Johnny Seagroat. This then is the title track from Comus's lost second album.
Serene, she simmers, shine, sheen, and shimmer like light. Beside, patiently, I'm a how much warm shots of her glory radiated towards me, and she the side. Pretty light.
The quick descending line is a nice counter to a lot of the lighter ideas that have been present throughout the melody so far. I'm digging the dual vocals, the counterpoint there, and occasionally even having extra melody on the violin. The ways that the vocals will line up and then go their separate ways and come back together. There's something so infectious about the way that they interweave melodies. This entire song's been a treat for that. Tension rising, hyper focused on specific tones. Almost warning like, alarm like, both the violin and the vocal lines. What is that? I thought it was a trill on the oboe that we had heard previously. Maybe bassoon, actually, given the range. But it sounded more digital this time. Okay, the precision on those high notes. I love how there is obviously a strong folk element to a lot of the writing, but it also occasionally, like in those last 20 seconds or so, really leans into a bit more of a romantic era classical perspective.
Lady, play my game now, it's the night. Away tonight, I love the rain, tonight. Design my head in white winter snows. I come up from the lake to see my girl. My rainy spring from there to break. Design my head
Fun syncopations in the rhythmic element here. Still continuing on with their dense layering. The violin here is playing around with a lot of eighth notes, but tucking in these little 16th note runs every once in a while without pattern in order to drive an unknowing element to this section. So much intensity.
I break the surface shattered in center body exude. The spell is broken in its hand, you people open to. And all the birds have flown from the skies to the land, riding far away. No wait, no God must make deep
So that's fun, giving us the 4/4 on the downbeats, but also having the triplet feel as a core component.
straight from the mountain, from playing with love in the fountain, charging and floating and lyrically low, the minions of Malgaard Suite.
Interesting hearing the vocal differences here, particularly on the feminine vocal too, bringing down to a range we haven't really heard much of, and then, you know, skyrocketing back up to these really high-pitched tones. These notes just half-step rising. mentioned the bassoon, but it might actually just be a clarinet here. But this timbre sounds very different from the one that came up previously when I had mentioned. I still don't know what instrument that was, 10 minutes ago or whatever. So we've wrapped up the tension, and this is a bit somber, but it brings back a bit of that light from the beginning of the track, exploring a woodwind heavy rather than a string heavy arrangement. And for what it's worth, I think the woodwinds often pop up during more whimsical moments of this track. So we're definitely coding some of the atmospheres based on timbre. Yeah, so right off the bat, I just want to say that it's a bit of a shame that this is the only known recording of this performance or of this song in general, and maybe even more of a negative that we don't have the other three parts of this. Because what I heard easily places this as my favorite Comus song so far. Now, granted, we haven't gotten into the lyrics yet, and having read some of their past lyrics and the preface for this track stating that it was about a woman being captured by a troll of some sort, a cave troll, I think they had mentioned, it could definitely go south. And this song, it got pretty intense closer to the end of the track. It's quite possible that lyrically, I'm not going to be on board with this song, but I think musically, I find this to resonate with me really well. And I think it's for that reason that I think it's a really big shame that this is the only version we have, because I know I can hear some of the stuff going on, but I'm missing a lot of detail. I know it. I can hear some of these instruments. I can hear them, getting washed out, getting faded, getting overpowered by other parts. There's a lot of compression on this. I don't have to tell you this. It's not a great version, production-wise, of this. And the fact that it was recorded on a cassette player originally, and then degradation happened, and all the process of how this version came to be, I don't fault this listening this version of it for its poor production. But I do know that what I'm hearing is excellent, and what I am missing would only elevate this. But unfortunately, there's just no way to hear that other part, those other parts of this track. And I think that's what I'm most, I don't know, is disappointed the right word here? I don't have anyone to be disappointed in. But I think disappointment is the word. It's how I'm feeling. I really wish there was a solid quality version of this, because there's just so many great moments in here. I mean, the sheer melodic writing of this track, whether it is melodic licks, which are, repeated ideas, ostinatos or riffs or loops, depending on, what genre of music you listen to. They all have their own word to describe a looped idea. But the more melodic ideas that we have, shorter melodies that are just played over and over and over, sometimes with shifting chords, sometimes without. But the way those are incorporated rhythmically, harmonically, melodically against the leading melodies. And the fact that there's usually two and sometimes even three melodies going on at once. This is just, this is candy for my ears. It just sounds so good hearing all of these moving parts perfectly complementing each other. I had mentioned during the reaction that at several moments in here, it almost seems to move away from a sort of dark folk, which is kind of what I place Comus in. When I get a Comus reaction, I'm expecting some dark folk music. But it kind of dances between that world and classical, particularly the Romantic era. And I think that's where a lot of the more whimsical elements kind of lean towards shifting away from the folk into the classical. And a lot of it comes down to the ways that the instruments are seemingly in constant communication with each other in individual ways. If you get a metal song and like the bass kick has a rhythm and the bassist is playing that same rhythm and the guitarist is playing that same rhythm but a chord, like obviously all those instruments are in communication, but it's for a singularity. But in this case, they're all presenting pieces of a larger whole. They're all moving parts. Melody and harmony and rhythm are incorporated into every single part, and they're all doing their own things, and they're just interlocking clockwork into this beautiful idea. It's like a gorgeous scene in a film where the cinematography and the direction and the color grading and the editing and all of it's just coming together with the digital effects work, and it's just this beautiful series of events where like every frame is screenshotable, where you're like, yes, I could see that as the wallpaper on my computer or whatever. And it's just so well shot and edited and paced, and that's what this feels like. It's so many little parts of music all working together just to create something gorgeous every single moment of this 15-minute song. And it's also getting me in the other point that I swoon for every time, which is multiple vocalists. I think their vocals, I can't really tell too much about if their timbres work well together. That's one of the things that's kind of getting erased in the production. It's a little bit of a mismatch for me, but I'm going to chalk that up to production because I've never made this comment about Comus in the past. Now, maybe this is a different lineup. Maybe these are two different vocalists than I've heard on other tracks. But like I said, I'm not going to put it on Comus here. I'm going to put that on the production. But I love the ways that the vocals move together. Like I had mentioned during the reaction, they'll line up and harmonize, then they'll split and do their own things. We'll have counterpoint, we'll have call and response. It'll be very conversational, and then they'll come back together and line up on harmony again. And it's wonderful because there's this constant movement. Sometimes they are locked in. Sometimes you only get one and then the other, and you get this call and response. Other times they're both going in their own ways that are supporting each other, but also doing their own thing. And it's beautiful to listen to, and I absolutely love it. That's kind of all of the melody on this, but certainly having multiple vocalists, I don't know what it is about the human voice. If there's more than one, I'm there for it. Now, the general progression of this track, it started out folkier, kind of felt very, I don't know, bard-like. Is bard music a thing? It definitely captured, a century-old style of folk music. Something designed to set a tone for a story to be told over. But we started dipping into more instrumental-based music. I think that's where the classical part starts to come in. We start to see more instruments. It starts to take on more complex writing. The layering gets more dense. And it increases the intensity by having these layers, by having more interlocking parts, by having denser harmonic palette. But we also begin to see the song transform. Around the halfway point, we kind of dip away from more melodic ideas, layering melodies, and focus on harmony. We have rhythmic devices, we have sonic devices. I had mentioned that one repeated violin phrase, I think it was like 3 notes, like do-do-do, do-do-do. It starts to sound like an alarm, especially as the harmonic element begins to increase in tension and darkness and animosity. We begin to see these short ideas designed to evoke feeling, not from melody, but from, I don't know, analogy, sonic analogy. I mean, the alarm, it's not really it is a musical device. It's a short melodic lick, but it also sounds like a warning alarm going off. We have rhythmic ideas where instruments will just pick one note and lean into it. Harmonically, we won't see a lot of change. This will be more texture-based, more atmospheric-based, sort of something closer to maybe post-metal, if you're a metalhead. Focusing lesser on melody and more on how this section makes someone feel. And I thought that was really interesting to kind of see this evolution of the composition through here. I would love to, I don't know, give it a second listen probably and have the lyrics pull. Are there lyrics? I mean, there's got to be. Someone had to have transcribed the lyrics. I'll have to look that up later. But I'd love to have the lyrics pulled up while I listen to this and kind of follow the story beats with this evolving composition technique and see maybe if they're trying to. Because you remember at the end of the reaction, I had mentioned that they were coding some of the atmospheres by timbre. When it was heavier and more intense, it was more string-based. And as we begin to move back into a somber type of whimsy, we brought back the woodwinds. We were saying, okay, these are the environments, these are the instruments that are going to help tell those environments. And we can kind of suss out the feeling based on the expectations the band has given us about what instruments play, what kind of moods and stuff like that. And it really helps, hopefully, what would have been, I say hopefully, but what would have been in a future track, saying that, the woodwinds, especially the clarinet, shows up in more whimsical elements. And then we can bring the clarinet in a future song, maybe not necessarily in a whimsical atmosphere, but it can imply a little bit of that. The listener might not know why, but it's because we've already trained this association from the first track. So it's neat little things like that I really think the full suite would have benefited from. And listening to this composition, I'm pretty certain they would have gone that route or could have gone that route, that they had the compositional chops to do something like that because of the complexities they're already showcasing here. But we have the instrumental change, we have the compositional change, and eventually we even have the harmonic change, bringing in tenser, more dissonant, darker tones overall, and allowing the feminine vocalist to alter what they're doing. For a majority of this track, they're kind of in the same range, the same style, and here we begin to see them kind of become weary, broken down a little bit, their pitch dropping by at least an octave and a half, maybe even 2 octaves, to a range we haven't really seen them in. It feels as if they're too tired to sing the way they were prior. And not long after this, they skyrocket to some of the highest notes they've played at all, which in contrast sounded like screaming. There's a lot of storytelling going on in what instruments are used, how they're being used, how the chords change. And while I would say melodically and layeringly, the song's pretty consistent with the way that they use multiple instruments to create atmospheres, there is this subtle shifting of ideas throughout the entire track that I assume are going to bleed into the storytelling elements of it. Yeah, this was great though, and I wish I had more to talk about. I know there's some stuff I missed. There's some instruments that I couldn't quite pick out. Again, the production just isn't great for that, but I think I got the general gist of it for what it's worth, and I'm pretty glad this exists somehow. Let me see if I can find some lyrics to this, then we're going to wrap this one up. Now, the lyrics I found are a guess, seemingly rather accurate. I tried the first few lines against the song itself, and it sounds right, but they did get the lyrics from this recording. It's not an official lyric set from like inside of a like liner notes or something, which, you know, it was something I worried about earlier during the analysis portion, if there was even going to be an official set of lyrics out there. And, you know, it's not. So maybe not all of this is right, but it seems good enough. And it does match the story that was described at the preface of the track. Now, I really like some of the rhyme schemes in here. It isn't super consistent, but looking at the first two lines, serene, she shimmers, shine sheen and a shimmer, bright light, he sighs. Neath your gleam, I'm a glimmer, me a dream, I'm much grimmer, a sight. So we have serene and sheen that eventually lines up with gleam and dream, but we also have the immer idea, shimmer and glimmer and grimmer, but we also have the long I, like in light, sigh, and sight. And so we have multiple rhymes throughout these two sentences right here. And I think the more impressive part is that while it is a bit difficult to navigate through, and it doesn't seem like it rolls off the tongue really well, thanks to all of those hard G sounds, it does, however, make sense. Talks about a woman shimmering and being a bright light, but this person believing that they're not quite as pleasant on the eyes, but believing all of this that they're seeing, this vision, to be a dream. It talks about this person being weak and buried beneath the chill of the ice-frozen ground. So they go on a trek to find this person. Her voice weaves pulsating patterns behind my eyes. It can sense her in a way. And our narrator goes through in search of this, but there's an ogre, Malgaard the magician in the ogre domain of Ebon. He is also aware of this this lady. And through the story, it's kind of alluded to that she's stuck under the ice because he put her there. And so we journey through murky swamplands and forests and reach a snowy mountainous area. It says that there's some black gates and a secret of ages locked behind it. They wait for the gate to open. They find this ice shell with the lady inside of it. It says, ice incarnate, surface impregnate, shine or desecrate, splinter the shell, conjure, create, surface radiate, form disintegrate, shattering the shell. They're trying to destroy this ice prison around her. And eventually they do. Her ice tomb shatters. Her body is now exhumed. But hope is consumed as she begins to fly away. It seems that Malgaard, the ogre, is summoning her. So while our narrator may have found this person and rescued her, she is still trapped to Malgaard. And that's pretty much where the song ends, implying that our narrator will chase down and try to rescue her a second time in either the second movements or have a journey between movements 2 and 3 for a showdown with Malgaard in movement 4. I don't know. That stuff never happened. It was never made. But I will say that the general journeying of this track, the evolution of the song from something a bit lighter into darker and intense and antagonistic, yeah, a journey through forests and swamps and rocky mountainous areas to free a damsel in distress. That's classic fantasy storytelling right there, and having the music reflect that, pretty well done. That's going to wrap up my thoughts then on the Malgaard Suite, at least movement 1 of the suite from Comus. But what are your thoughts on this track? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this song? Please put all of that and anything else you'd like to add into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. Wraps it up for today. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.